myself and the other three lovely co-founders have all grown up in areas worst affected by air pollution, and we've seen these impacts affect our loved ones and our friends too, and we're not willing to just sort of let it happen anymore. I think when you see that sort of happen to the people that you love, and you feel helpless because you feel like you don't know what to do, you end up feeling just really bad and really awful, and then you come to realize that this is something that's sort of out of your control, which makes you consider, okay, what can I actually do about it? Every time I go to a protest, whether it be just about literally anything, I'd go home and feel so a part of me feel really, really achieved, I've done this thing and it's all community led and it's amazing, because you feel you really, really do connect with people on a much more personal level, and you have conversations that you could never imagine.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Creekcast. Today we have once again another special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Destiny.
Hi, my name is Destiny. I am 17 years old and I'm a campaigner for Choked Up. We're based in London and we are advocating for clean air.
So there's no better introduction than that. We're gonna basically go right after the ad break to get to know you and Choked Up a little better. So stick around and see you soon.
Everyone listening, this ain't no obligation we get if you skip through the ads. I do it myself sometimes, but please stick around. This might interest you. You never know. You don't get Anchor on YouTube, you get Surfshark. And what is Surfshark? #1 VPN. You already know it. Keeps your data safe, information private, all to yourself. Quality of your content does not go down. This ain't no illegal. It's perfectly legal. Don't worry about that. It's pretty affordable, especially with our discount. And you could just gotta check that link down in the description. But if you don't want to, don't worry. We appreciate you just being here, watching, supporting. Everything you do, like, subscribe, just a view, a stream, anything, thank you. We appreciate it. And on with the content, enjoy it, please. Boom.
Hello, welcome back from that little ad break. Let's get started, to give the listeners a little bit of an idea of what kind of is Choked Up and who are the people who founded Choked Up.
Of course. So as I mentioned before, at Choked Up, we are an organisation that is campaigning for clean air in the UK. More specifically, we want to highlight the fact that it's our communities of colour that are suffering the most in terms of who gets worst affected by clean air. And through that, we want to properly act on it instead of just letting things happen. And through that, we want our government to push for solid clean air laws which will ensure protection for our most vulnerable communities. This comes from the fact that myself and the other three lovely co-founders have all grown up in areas worst affected by air pollution, and we've seen these impacts affect our loved ones and our friends too, and we're not willing to just sort of let it happen anymore. And so that's basically us in a nutshell.
A novel idea that starts again from another place of comfort. We often have these types of answers when we bring in guests, that there's something wrong, and it doesn't usually start with a really big idea or being super ambitious, but it starts small and then it gradually becomes even more powerful. So here we are. It's a really good project that you have in your hands.
Yeah, and I guess something that kind of stands out from seeing your organization is that it doesn't just focus on air quality, but it also involves the topic of race and ethnicity, which a lot of the times might not be recognized, especially with air quality and climate change. At times it just seems as, we're all in this together, when in reality there's some who are already drowning and some who are still on the skyscraper safe from everything. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting organization, and that kind of leads us to question if you've had any whether it be you or any of the other founders experiences with the air quality in the UK.
I guess I'll speak for myself, but I've had family, I guess, who have asthma, and I've had loads of friends who have like similar conditions. And I think when you see that sort of happen to, you know, the people that you love, and you feel helpless because you feel like, you know, you don't know what to do, you end up feeling just really bad and really awful. And then you come to realize that, you know, this is something that's sort of out of your control. Which makes you consider, okay, you know what, like, what can I actually do about it? And so, that's sort of how why I'm sort of like personally invested in this campaign, and why I feel so strongly about advocating for cleaner air in the UK. And I 100% agree with the fact that, you know, some people like worse affected by others, especially in terms of like the climate change too, and that a lot of people tend to dismiss the idea of like race and class in terms of you know, who will end up suffering the most. And, you know, this sort of ignorance sort of like perpetuates and worsens the issue, because if we're not combating, you know, individual differences and individual needs, then it very much, like, as you guys have mentioned really well, it seems like an we're all in this together sort of approach. But I guess we have to be really sensitive about just, I guess, who is worst affected and how we can sort of act with more urgency towards our most vulnerable people. So I guess that's what we do when we try to campaign, and I guess that's been recognised by, like, you know, people around us and like in our own communities and in the news too. And, you know, the only way is up, and we can always like be able to do more. And it's just been great, the work that we've been doing recently. Yeah,
I mean, some people really shy away from the idea of race whenever we're talking about anything in general. I think people try to paint it as a separate problem that needs solving later, instead of opening their eyes and actually seeing that it's not that easy. They're not separate problems that are not affected by each other. They're constantly moving parts that affect each other in the long run. So addressing the issues now, and the fact that they're together and mixed, is the best way to move forward, instead of just focusing to one problem and trying to ignore the other, because, well, at the end of the day, the problem won't be solved if we can ignore it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all intertwined at the end of the day. And I guess also kind of the idea that youth creators and youth movements are very important nowadays, and we see this a lot. I mean, not really now more than ever, because there's always been movements in different times in the past, but it really does stand out, especially with things like air quality and climate change and injustices. Like right now, we've seen a lot of this recently, and I think it's really something that needs a platform, and it's important for people with organizations like you to really be able to show their voice and show what they're doing, because at the end of the day, these are the people who need to see the light of day through either it be news or any platform that allows them to really grow their audience and understand what the situation is. Because I don't think most people, especially like from our ends, would think like, oh yeah, in the UK they probably have everything dealt with, because a lot of the times we look outwards and it's like the grass is greener, as they say. So yeah, I think it just needs attention, and also the recognition that it isn't great everywhere, and every place has their issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the grass is definitely not greener in the UK, no matter how pretty it looks from the outside. There are a lot of things that we can improve here, and I totally agree with the whole. I guess mobilizing the youth as well. It's been really nice to be able to, I guess, lead something and be able to educate others in something that I guess like I feel really compassionate about, and that people are starting to listen, and it's quite nice having like, you know, your friends and your peers and your teachers getting involved too, and having loads of people that you don't even know, you know, telling you, you know, you're doing a great job. Like it's really I don't like, it's really inspiring on my part, and you know, it finally gives like the youth a platform in like politics, and like I don't know, like we're being put in conversations where we wouldn't normally expect to be, and it's quite nice to feel like we're starting to make a change. Yeah.
Yeah, and you must mentioned something a few seconds ago of how movements now are more youth led, and I think, yeah, like you said, it's been all over the world. It's just that now with the internet and this whole world, it's now more visible than ever. So and with the tools that we have right now, I mean, you're like in a different hemisphere, so it's just fantastic that thanks to the tools that we have, we can make these things happen, and we can exchange information and opinions and just grow as people together. So it's pretty gnarly stuff, honestly.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to, I guess, connect with like so many different people, especially internationally. Like I find it so cool when I like speak to people from like different countries. Like it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and it really lets you, like, it allows, for example, for us, it allows us to get a view of other parts of the world, because otherwise all you see are the news, and unless you go and experience it head on, the only other way is by connecting with people who live it day to day. So it's very interesting to be able to connect like with somebody from the UK or wherever, because it just lets you see the real dynamic, and not just like, oh look, the London Eye and a bridge and the Queen and stuff.
Even when you actually go to the actual place, you don't really get the whole cultural aspect of it unless you talk to people. So that's something I would like to say, like, for people who travel a lot. I don't know if right now it's a great idea, but when we can, try to talk to people. You really get your eyes open, because often you just go to a country and just see the tourist traps and be like, oh cool, this whole country is like this, and then boom, and it's over, and you don't actually get to experience everything. So talk to people. It's the best advice I can give right now. It's really eye-opening.
Yeah, definitely. Because you end up getting caught up in a lot of the superficial stuff, and it doesn't allow you to really like go deep into the culture and the people who actually experience that world. Which also kind of something that comes to mind is when you go out there, and I saw on your Instagram that you like put signs up and you have these rallies, for example. Like there's bound to be a moment that kind of or an experience that happens in those moments that kind of leaves a mark on you. So would you say there is anything that really stuck with you?
Well, I mean, absolutely. So in terms of the road signs, that was months worth of work being put together. So we like planned it, we like, you know, thought of a design and stuff, and then we got help from people who were actually able to make it. We had to actually make them life size, and like people from like an outside organization had to like help with that, and then we got it delivered. And then it was for I mean, it at first it was for like our main action, because we just started off as a campaign, and we sort of wanted to like get our names out there and like make sure that, you know, we're going to be heard. But we had to like postpone it for a few months, given like COVID and loads of other things that it sort of fell through. So we waited it out for a little bit, and then we properly put the road signs up around March time. And during that time, it was sort of like the height of like British London politics, because we were due to like elect a new mayor. And so by us putting up our road signs, which basically just said things like, you know, communities of colour worst affected by air pollution and, you know, pollution zone and stuff like that. We wanted to give a message to who would have been our future mayor. You know, please implement clean air laws, which, you know, would protect, you know, the communities who are worse off. And then we put up the signs in areas like Whitechapel and Lewisham and Brixton, which are areas that have like a high population of black minority ethnic people, but also are worst affected by air pollution, to really put out that message that, you know, these communities are suffering right now and it's not their fault, and, you know, you as a mayor could actually do things about it. And that was greatly recognised. Like, the mayor saw it himself, and he said that was really inspirational of us, and it was really, really good. So, and yeah, it was great, and the general public loved it, and yeah, it was just really, really well received, and yeah, so we were able to really put our names and our messages out there, and then from then, like, it's really like brought up a lot of momentum, and it's just quite nice to finally, I guess, feel appreciated for like the efforts that you sort of like put in. And yeah, and in terms of like rallies and like protests and stuff, like in a more general stance, absolutely, like every time I go to a protest, whether it be just about literally anything, like I'd go home and feel so like, a part of me feel like really, really achieved, like, you know, I've done this thing and it's all community led and it's amazing, because you feel like you really, really do connect with people on a much more personal level, and you have conversations that you could never imagine, and like just having everybody together and mobilized in one space is just one of the loveliest things, and it's so nice because you never feel alone, in that, you know, everybody there cares about the specific issue in question, and it really does put pressure on, you know, the people that are meant to take care of us, whether it be the government, whether it be, you know, members of parliament or whoever, to really, you know, step up and actually like do something about the thing that we're more concerned about. And it's just absolutely great. And I think I guess the people and the social aspect of doing activism and protesting is just absolutely great, and it's one of my favorite things to do, just like learning from other people too. It's amazing. Yeah,
I mean, the way I found Choked Up was through I suppose you would identify Nico Amalana. Yeah, that's how I found you, and it's I mean, that's kind of what matters. Like the platform that people like him or I mean, that the mayor directly address you. It's really important to kind of give that platform and the ability to really open themselves to a large amount of viewers, because I mean, if the mayor recognizes you, then that allows for smaller people to not be able to kind of like throw you away or aside, because it's like, we were recognized by the mayor. And Nico Milana.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you said that, like, it's surprising that a government official actually acknowledges activism in any way. I don't know usually how
that's crazy.
Politics work. I'm not a big politics guy. I know ironic activism and the whole stuff, but just how things work here, that wouldn't happen ever at all.
Yeah, no.
It would be like put it in the sidelines. I was like, crazy.
Yeah, more than anything, if you like actually manage to get your message through to that person, then they would probably, I mean, not to jump to conclusions, but probably death is probably the option.
I mean, as long as you're not a politician, I think you're kind of safe from. Well, no, not really.
And if you're a journalist, you're dead. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, I mean, things like protests and rallies, and I guess especially in a time like COVID, it must feel different, because at the end of the day, like there's this massive event going on, and a lot of it is due to the government's inability to actually react and protect the people with the proper measures, or they reacted too late. No hate to Boris Johnson, but I'm just saying. And yeah, you know, those kind of moments, I guess they really allow for the community to unite in a sense, because everybody's feeling this kind of tension and moment of a lot of things going on in the world. And yeah, I guess it's just kind of beautiful that protests and rallies like those allow for these communities to unite, which is something we definitely, personally, I think we need to see more of people uniting and coming together for a cause, which is kind of the common goal.
Yeah, and it creates tangible change, which is the most surprising part, because usually you don't see progress from any project till a few years later. So whenever you can actually make tangible, just recallable progress, I think it's a pretty, really, really big step. Like, especially that a government official acknowledges you. Like, wow, big step.
You're still in shock.
Yeah,
man.
I'm still like taking it back. Like, wow.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot, and it was really weird when the Mayor of London like kind of said that about us, because like we're just like kids, we're literally just children, like studying in school. Well, I finished my exams now, but back then I was still studying in school, and it's just like, this is just something that we really care about. But it's so good being heard. And I definitely agree with I think what you guys said earlier in terms of like even like protesting and stuff during like COVID, like it's a bit weird. Like I remember when I was going to protest, like even earlier this year, like everyone's a little bit like worried, and because like masks and stuff. But like I think now more than ever, like you sort of need people to be around, and so like you sort of feel even more safer, and everyone's like really careful where I protest anyways, and everyone's taking precautions and stuff. Like we've all got common sense, so it's all good. But yeah, again, it's just power to the people is something that I just always tell myself, because like you can't make big change without support from other people who are like-minded, or who are, I guess, wanting a similar or the same goal to you. And when you share ideas and stuff like that, you can only grow and you can only go up, and it's so rewarding being able to work with others and striving towards a particular thing that you really care about. And it's just so much more fun when you do it with other people. Yeah
It's just, I mean, we've discussed this previously on the podcast, that people tend to think that they can change the world alone and in one night, and that's not the case at all. So definitely with more people, you have a greater chance and more of a tangible dream that can come true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think more than anything, it also allows for not only like a possible collective goal to achieve more equality or sustainability or whatever problem is being tackled, but personally it brings you a lot to go protest, and especially from like a young age to work on organizations like this, which kind of makes us curious of how have you perceived yourself growing as a person throughout this whole experience, or going out to protests, like all of it combined, it's bound to have an impact on people. So how would you say it has on you?
I think one thing I've definitely developed a lot more would be empathy and patience, because you definitely need the two in order to even work with other people in the first place. I'm not saying like I was like a cold-hearted person that just didn't have empathy before, but I feel like you do have to like give up. Well, yeah, you do have to give up like a lot of like your energy and your time and your resources and what to a space where not everything seems quite familiar. So that sense of vulnerability can be a bit scary, and you can get taken aback quite a bit, especially when things get really overwhelming and you're not sure what to do. But then again, having that safe space and having those people that you just really trust and makes all the difference. And in terms of patience, time can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. Like it's literally one or the other. Like it's either extreme. Like having to juggle activism with like school and family commitments, seeing friends, like it does take up quite a lot of your time. So obviously I haven't been able to do like as much as I would want to in terms of like other things that I'd be doing, like my hobbies and stuff. But then again, it's so much more worth it because it doesn't really feel like work. I feel like when you really enjoy something and you really care about something and you're willing to put your all into it, you just make the most out of it and you end up just enjoying it anyways. And all the activism I do never really feels like work. It just feels like, it feels like I'm using up a lot of my time to do a specific thing, but it's never really tiresome and it doesn't feel like a chore. And I think keeping that mindset is very helpful, especially when things get like really stressful or when things get a bit like overloaded because, I don't know, have loads of appointments and Zoom interviews to do and writing up loads of like, I don't know, emails and articles and whatever I need to do. but it's just so much fun, and I feel like this is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be able to, I guess, just be able to like spread some sort of truth or some sort of word. And I look up to like so many different activists, like in terms of like what they do, and even like young people and old people alike. Like I've always looked up to people that like do grassroots work, and I've just always wanted to do it. So I'm glad that I'm finally being able to have the platform to do so, I guess. So I guess that's why it kind of always will never ever feel like actual work, but just something that I really enjoy doing.
I mean, that's a sentiment that we can agree on here. We did this like first. Well, it's a story for another time, but it basically started as a school project that evolved into a more personal, let's do it for fun and because we want to, instead of just an assignment. Like it really transcended being just work.
And you can really feel the difference. I mean, when we've talked about school so many times, but when we compare school with doing this, the weight just feels completely different because it's something that we're passionate about and we actually care about. And it's like the more things you have to do, even though it can kind of feel like, oh God, there's a lot of things. At the same time, it's like it's good that we have a lot of things to do because this means that we're doing it and we're doing it well and it's going somewhere. So I mean, I think it's a very something very easy to agree with because at the end of the day, kind of it offers you some experience and some learning and organization and like all these different things and skills that are kind of necessary to make a project run or otherwise you just get caught up in everything. And the most important thing, I guess, to kind of say to people who might be considering doing their own organization or starting up their own whatever at the end of the day, is that you have to enjoy it to actually be able to give your best product. Because otherwise, it just becomes something else to add on to your stress or whatever. And as we've mentioned before, if you don't love it and if you don't want to do it, then the best thing that could come out of that isn't going to come out of it.
Yeah, if you have to force it, it's really not a good idea. Find something else to do. Maybe it's not for you or your outlet is not enough. For example, we, especially now, we don't go out in protests we tend to not do it physically because the whole COVID stuff and we're not that type of people, but so we decided to create this kind of outlet. So it's more of the podcast. It's more less tangible, but it gives us more ground and it fits our own personality. So you have to enjoy it. Don't force it. That's the best advice we can give right now. I think we can all agree with that. If you force it, it's not going to be good at all.
Absolutely.
And I think, as you say, like a lot of the time, it's if people are listening and they're like, you know what, I feel like I want to start my own project, my own organization, my own club, whatever it is. At the end of the day, like there's so many avenues that you could help with in activism because it's so broad. It isn't just like you have to go and protest and beat up a police officer to be doing something. There's so many different avenues to it, and I think a lot of the time people might not want to explore those avenues because they think that it isn't effective enough. But if it isn't for you, then try something else. I mean, as long as you're trying to do a positive thing and you feel passionate about it, then go on, rock on.
Honestly, again, I couldn't agree more. Activism goes so many ways, and it's not always, taking it to the streets. Like solidarity exists everywhere, whether it be doing the podcast, which I think is also great because, not only is it more accessible, but, like everybody can listen to a podcast when they're at home or when they're commuting to their school or work, and you're still able to, I guess, transcend the same messages. and you know the passion that you guys have translates really, really well, like whether it be in this episode or the other like podcasts that you do, and that will have the same effect as if somebody else wanted to do like another thing, which is also just really, really great. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, that's all I can say.
Yeah, every time we receive compliments from guests, it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah. If they actually knew how much we struggle with this.
Yeah, but it's a pleasure, and again, it's just kind of the ability to. I mean, both of us are relatively introverted, and I think for us, it's kind of a journey to find people that like we would never ever meet if it weren't because of the podcast, and kind of see what they're doing and their views, and it's really crazy to a certain extent that we can meet people like you and have these conversations, because it's a privilege at the end of the day, and it's something that we hope helps people at home.
Oh, thank you. I'm also very bad at taking compliments as well. I mean, that's why I like to give so many. But no, honestly, it's honestly an absolute pleasure, and I love talking to people. So I think I'm this sort of introvert that likes like a specific group of people, and I can just talk to them forever. But like when it's like meeting new people in real life, I get a bit like, oh my god, like I don't know what to say. But
Yeah.
honestly, I love this space. Like I feel safe, and I think that's why I'm like so chatty right now. Like I could speak forever. Yeah.
I mean, you can say whatever. Honestly, we try to create that environment here because, well, usually this is just an outlet for everyone to say their piece, no matter the opinion. Honestly, whatever you want to say, just say it.
Yeah, we really we aren't really the activists here. We just want to offer the platform to the people who are like there. You know, they're at the forefront of everything, and I think that kind of highlights what we want to do more than anything. That was a weird tangent. So kind of going back again. To Choked Up and the work that you guys are doing, what would you kind of say are the biggest challenges of managing Choked Up? Because a lot of the time we will, as like we've discussed, you'll see the good things, but sometimes people won't really understand the more difficult and complex things.
Oh, I think the most challenging thing about like being a Choked Up and like I guess running a campaign, it'd probably be the bits that nobody really sees, like, you know, arranging meetings, typing up emails, drafting, you know, what we're going to say on social media. I think just all the organising that goes, you know, before like our projects, or even organising before having meetings, you know, taking notes of the meetings that we're in, you know, continuing to like build relationships with other organisations and other people. Just all the planning, it does take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and especially like when you're on Zoom constantly, that can also be quite fatiguing, because you know looking at a screen for like ages in one day like does take a toll on you, but like it's absolutely fine. Like you sort of go to sleep and you rest it away and it's fine. But yeah, it's definitely just all the things that people don't see in terms of, you know, activity planning. And like I know a lot of activists can relate to this, because a lot of us feel quite overworked, and like we can get like stressed sometimes, and burnout is very real. Like it's a very real thing, but in the end it's all just so rewarding when it all like comes out in the end and everything is just so well put together. So it's just like being able to, I guess, stay afloat amongst all like the stress and all the emails and all the things that like I guess keep you occupied. But it's not awful, but like luckily like I'm not doing this on my own. I have 3 other lovely co-founders and friends too. Like running campaigns with your friends is probably one of the best things that you can do, because you need you need that solid relationship before you do like big things and projects and stuff like that, because like you want to get along with the people that you're working with. yeah, and it definitely shows with our dynamic. I think we're all quite similar people, but we all have different strengths as well. So we all play to our strengths, and we all support each other in our own ways. And it's just so much fun. But like again, it is a lot of work. But you know, of course it would be like, because our goals are so big and ambitious. We've got so much to do. But like I wouldn't not do it, if that makes sense. Like I absolutely love the things that I do.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun every day.
Yeah, it's really that reward. Yeah, I mean, the stress ends up being kind of rewarding because it's something that you're doing in the moment, and it might be like, oh my god, why did I do this? But then then you look at it and it's like, wow, this actually brought a lot of benefits, and it's something that kind of the result really gives, it fills that kind of hole that we might feel at times with other things that we're not passionate about. Again, if you're doing it, do it because you're passionate.
Do it because you want to, with people you like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's really more than anything, kind of the little things, as you said, like emails and planning and all these organizational things, which are the behind the scenes, is what ends up taking the most time, I guess, because I can relate to that, as the amount of emails that I have sent, I have never sent in my life.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's for not only a cause that brings happiness to ourselves, but in general, it's just a good thing to be doing for the planet, and just in general, it's just a positive change that we're making. So I think it's well worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, very much so.
And I mean, it's been a very dynamic conversation with a lot of topics, but now we have the big three, which are the main questions that we always ask our guests. They are the heavy hitters, to put it like that, I guess. So starting off with, you mentioned before that you were inspired by a lot of activists. But who would you say is your biggest inspiration, whether it be in your professional or personal life?
Does it have to be like just the one person?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, that's that's quite. Oh my gosh. Wow. I was gonna take. I mean, there's just so many people that I can just think of from the top of my head that because I just know so many amazing people. Okay. I guess one person that like always inspires me. Well, they're not necessarily an activist, but they are in my eyes. It would definitely have to be. It would definitely have to be my dad. Like, he is probably one of the most inspirational people that I know. Like, if it wasn't for him, like. I know there's like so many things in my life I just wouldn't do, and I wouldn't have this like passion and this, I guess, empathy and this drive to always, I guess, work for other people. And like he's the one that would constantly encourage like me and my siblings to sort of just like go and do the path that we want. And I guess innately, like in the very long run, he's sort of given me this sense of confidence in that I could do anything that I want, because I know that he had achieved like so much in his life, and that's just something that I always stick by. And you know, like whenever I'm having like a shit time of things, like he is probably the one person I think of and think, you know, like what would he do in this situation? And that alone just keeps me going. And honestly, yeah,
I mean, that's the answer we're looking for.
Something personal.
Yeah, sometimes we hear like celebrities and activists, which I mean, it's all good.
Fine.
Like every answer we've ever had is great, but when they're personal, they really hit home.
Yeah,
the best kind, honestly. So moving on to the second question of the big three, what would you say are 3 of your biggest goals for the future?
Okay, when you say like 3 biggest goals in the future, do you mean like personal or in terms of like
your work, personally, landmarks in your life?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I guess I've already achieved I will achieve one of my biggest goals. In October, I hope to study, I will study at Oxford, and that's like one of my first biggest goals was to like get into like a really, really like good university. So that's like one of my biggest goals. I guess the second would be that I'm really into like media and like journalism and stuff like that. So I'd love to be like a journalist and hopefully publish a book sometime in the future. And I just love being able to write, and it's one of the things I've always grown up doing. Like I've always loved reading, and I've always loved writing. Like I write my diary like every single day, and it's so much fun. And I want to be able to express that to like a wider audience, if that makes sense. So that's, I guess, another like really, really big goal. And I guess one of my final goals would definitely have to be related to Choked Up, and that would be well, I guess our fundamental goal is to have Black and brown lives enshrined in clean air law. So in terms of like what that would mean in terms of like a big goal would be that we'd want like the British government to like create a new and updated law that would properly target the problem of air pollution and how it worst affects communities that like I've grown up in and communities that are similar, because again it's something that we've just been subjected to and it's not our fault, and we shouldn't have to live in that sort of state constantly. And our quality of lives is just as important as the people that live in central London and the richer areas. So I just think it's cruel that we have to, I guess, go through a reality that is just so unnecessary, and so many people are having to live with the effects of bad air pollution when it's just so preventable. And it angers me a little, but it makes me more sad than it does angry. And so again, I think that's why I'm just so driven with this campaign, because it really does hit home. And I know that it will bring nothing but positive change. I mean, like it hasn't done already, but literally the only way is up, and we can only just mobilize more people and put our names in big spaces, but more importantly really get the government to actually take lead and actually be able to say, what, we're going to make a positive change and we're going to improve the lives of those who need it the most, basically. So I guess I'll just reiterate my three main goals is getting into a good university, engaging in a career in journalism and publishing a book, and the last one being the government actually creating an updated law for clean air.
Pretty big goals. Big ones.
Yeah. I mean, Oxford, like I gotta applaud that.
Oh, thank you.
Nice. Good.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to have you back on in the future to kind of revisit those goals.
Oh, definitely.
And the final one, which is probably I would like to say the hardest one. What mark do you want to leave on this world?
Oh, that's a great question. What mark would I like to leave in this world? I'd like to be viewed as I've got to think about this one. Okay. I guess I'd like to be viewed as a person this is going to sound really weird, but I'd like to be viewed as a person of the people. Again, I think just because I run a quite grassroots, quite community based campaign, I'd always want to be a person of the people, and working for other people and working with other people is just something that I hold dear to me so much. And I just love being able to socialize and listen to other people, and also equally lead in positions where you wouldn't normally see, like a child or somebody that looks like me in particular. And I want to be able to break barriers and be like, what, if Destiny could do this, that and the other, I know that I can. I think just being able to inspire other people is just something that I'd really want to do, and which I hope I'm doing already, but I don't know. Be a person of the people.
Yeah, great answer.
Great answer.
A unique
Thank
one.
you.
A unique one too. That's the first kind we have gotten here, so pretty nice.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
a great way to close out this episode. It's really been a pleasure and an honor to meet you and have this conversation. And yeah, I mean, we'll stay in touch. Hopefully, once you get those goals, we'll have you back on.
Absolutely, I'd love to do a part 2. It's been great having you guys. Like, thank you.
Definitely, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, thanks for coming in. Means a lot. And yeah, let's make the world a better place. Is all I have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yes.
do it because you want to, not because I told you so. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks again for coming. It really was a pleasure and a true honor. So yeah, see you next week, listeners.
Here's our Instagram, our YouTube, our Twitter.
And follow Choked Up also on Instagram and yeah.
We'll post them.
I guess that's it.
This has been the Creekcast Season 2 Firewall. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Monday. Bye.
Peace.